From League Safe World Headquarters, it's Fantasy Football Almost Daily. With Paul Charchia, Matt Harrison, Christian Peterson, and Brian Johnson.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. It's a chargeless edition of Fantasy Football Almost Daily. You know what that means? It means that Matt Harrison and Brian Johnson
We drinking?
get to be right.
Oh, no.
We could start drinking, too, I suppose, if you want. It is in the morning right now, so we'll get one at lunch. How about that?
Business.
As a reminder, I'd like everybody to rate and review our podcast, Fantasy Football Almost Daily, on iTunes. It helps bring us up to the front page and get a little bit more notoriety for us and like that. And we want to keep doing these for you. The more people that watch, the more people that listen, the more we'll keep doing these. So thank you for all of our loyal fans and listeners and everybody out there. So today we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do a slight preview of the Jets and Bills that are playing tonight. And then we're also going to go through trade candidates. And you've seen a whole bunch of articles. There's buy low and sell high articles, probably crowding your Facebook feed and your Twitter feed right now. Everybody does buy low and sell high. We're going to give you a buy low and a sell high for each of us, but we're also going to give you a buy high and a sell low. Some guys we believe in the hype in, and some guys that we're terrified and panicked of, and it's time to get rid of these big name players now. So let's start with the Jets and Bills, though, Brian. The Jets, it seems like kind of an easy matchup today. I think we're going to play the passing game for the most part. Marshall and Decker seem like pretty obvious starts against a pretty weak Bills defense.
Yeah.
How are you feeling on Fitzpatrick, though?
2 games last year, he didn't top 200 yards in either game, passing yards against the Bills.
Okay.
Threw 2 touchdowns in each game, which is kind of what was his MO last year. I think he had 2 touchdowns in almost every game, it seemed like.
That seemed to be Charch's thing. You want 2 touchdowns, you play Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He did throw 5 picks, too, so more picks than touchdowns in those 2 games. So I don't know. I don't think he's a surefire start in one quarterback leagues.
Probably give him like a C start.
Yeah, he's a C start if you're who's got a tough matchup this week. Like I don't know, maybe Andrew Luck. He's out in Denver. He's a guy that people are thinking about benching.
Sure.
Maybe you could play Fitzpatrick over a guy like that. But yeah, he's a C level start. Auto start in 2 quarterback leagues.
I don't think anybody's going to start Fitzpatrick over Andrew Luck
Probably
after
not.
Luck had the top scoring output out of a quarterback in week
but
1.
It'll be a little different in Denver, but we can save that for Saturday. But yeah, those are the 3.
The 3 guys in the passing game.
3 guys in the passing game. So yeah, but the 3 starts: Marshall, Decker, Forte. Obvious.
How did you feel about Forte's output last week?
It was explosive.
It wasn't that explosive,
It
though.
was somewhat explosive.
Okay.
He was one of the bell cows last week.
Yeah.
We needed a ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling for that.
We probably should get a cowbell in here.
Yeah, he saw like almost 90% of the snaps or 90% of the carries. Powell was invisible, even though he was effective. So
yeah, as a guy who owns Bilal Powell in a couple leagues, I was pretty disappointed in what Bilal's output was in that game. I'm hoping for a lot more.
Yeah, I think you got to sit him this week, though.
Yeah,
Powell.
I think I'm gonna too.
He'll probably get 10 to 12 touches tonight, though, and probably score. But still, it's not.
We
worth
need
the
him to
risk.
get the goal line carries, and that's the deal.
The case.
And Forte's not the goal line guy, which it's pretty obvious, but we need Powell to get those goal line carries. The Jets didn't have many runs inside the 5 last week.
No, they were throwing.
How about the Bills side? It seems like it's a tough defense. Obviously, the Darrelle Revis burnability is off the charts right now, with A.J. Green just torching him last week. That might be A.J. Green's really talented, too. Sammy Watkins is obviously talented when healthy, but is he going to be healthy enough, and do you trust him playing on a short week after getting x-rays on his foot on Sunday on a Thursday night?
Yeah, no.
I don't
Some
either.
people have to start him, and
Yeah.
if you do, you do. I mean, he went off in his last game against the Jets against Revis. He had like 130 yards. That was late in the season last year. Pretty quiet in the first game. But, yeah, it's a scary matchup for him. But you got to play him if you don't have any better options. And then I think McCoy is the only other option for Buffalo. 2 key injuries for the Jets. Muhammad Wilkerson, elite defensive end, he's questionable. And linebacker David Harris, also questionable. So if they don't play, that bumps the Jets' defense down a peg. That helps McCoy. But most people are starting him either way. He he was drafted as an RB1 or RB2, and you got to deploy him as such. But it's a tough matchup for him.
And there's no way we can go with Tyrod with the injury to Watkins and just kind of a bad receiver core outside.
Just
of that.
Overall, the quality of play is just piss poor on these Thursday night games. Everyone seems to underproduce, and it's a pretty good defense.
They always seem like a crapshoot every time.
They do.
So there's your Thursday night plays. We don't like a lot of them, but some of them seem pretty obvious. So let's move on to some of our buy low and sell high and buy high and sell low guys. The guys that you should be trading away and the guys that you should be trading for right now. We're going to start with the buy lows. Brian, I'll start with yours. You have Randall Cobb as your guy as the buy low candidate. Tell me why you like Cobb so much.
Yeah, I mean, he's not super low right now, his stock, but he didn't score on Sunday. Jordy Nelson scored. Devontae Adams scored, so Cobb kind of got lost in the mix there. And he's coming off a down year, not mostly, but you can say a lot of it was attributed to Jordy Nelson being injured. Cobb has played far better with Jordy on the field.
Yeah.
So if Jordy stays healthy, Cobb will thrive. He did have 8 targets on Sunday, 6 catches. Those are good numbers. I think that'll be his floor most weeks. 2 targets in the red zone already. He had 3 carries too, 1 inside the red zone as well. So
interesting.
They're putting the ball in his hands, and you're not going to get him dirt cheap by any means. But I think you could trade. I don't have names off the top of my head, but I think owners will be willing to part with Cobb for the right price, and you're not going to have to overpay for him right now. But once he finally scores 2, maybe 3 touchdowns in one game, like he's done in the past, then all said and done, you're not getting him for anything reasonably priced.
As a Viking fan, I have a sinking feeling that Randall Cobb will be the first member of any team to score a touchdown in U.S. Bank Stadium this weekend.
Yeah,
I have a sinking feeling about this, and I think it is time to buy low on Randall Cobb. The guy I have is Kirk Cousins. He played a bad Steelers defense this week at home, threw 2 picks, threw no touchdowns at all. But he did complete 70% of his passes, and he threw for 329 yards in the game. Those are good numbers. He threw a lot. I believe he threw 46 passing attempts in the game. Josh Norman also didn't fix anything so far on that defense. So the Redskins are going to be in comeback mode a lot this year. And I have a feeling that he was dropped outright in one of my leagues where we don't have super deep benches and stuff like that. I think Cousins is a guy that you can pick up and you can feel pretty comfortable with as your backup quarterback, and maybe more as the season goes on, because they're going to be chucking the ball a lot. They got a lot of good receivers, at least above average receivers.
That running game looks awful.
Jordan Reed is a great tight end, and the running game does look like absolute crap. So I'm buying low on Kirk Cousins. How about sell high, guys? And I think a lot of these are pretty obvious. Your guy, Brian.
My guy's
your
obvious?
Your guy's probably not as obvious. My guy's obvious. Let's start with my guy because he is obvious. It's Carlos Hyde. In parts of 3 seasons, Carlos Hyde has only scored in 7 games. He's only had 15 carries in a game 4 times in his career. He's not much of a player in the passing game either. He's only had more than 2 receptions in a game twice in his career. And Sean Drone is there. Sean Drone, whatever we call him today. He's going to be the guy who's in the passing game. He did vulture a touchdown from Hyde in the game against the Rams on Monday night. And he's not super durable either. He had a concussion in week 2 or week 3 of the preseason. And he missed the last 9 games of the season last year with injury. I'm nervous about Carlos Hyde. If you sold him after week 1 last year, you're pretty happy. Similarly, I mean, you think about it, this is the time that you can do it. And I think that this is a great sell high moment on Hyde if somebody finally goes, oh, I'm a believer. The Chip Kelly offense is going to work. If you got a believer out there, sell him when you can.
I'm with you. I have this matchup. The Niners are in Carolina this week for the radio on Saturday.
Whoops.
I'm almost benching Carlos Hyde this week.
You should bench Carlos Hyde this week.
I'm right now. I have a C because I know Charge will roll his eyes at me probably if I say bench.
No, bench him.
I think I'm gonna. I don't care what Charge says. We all know that.
We got to bench more guys on the radio on Saturday.
Right,
I think we give like these borderline guys C starting grades, and it's my goal to bench a few on every side because there's so many guys that we give like these lukewarm. That's a cop out.
So Hyde had these 2 big games in the last 2 years, and they're both these Monday night, late night games.
Yeah.
Which put the Niners at a clear advantage to have these home games, the last game, the build up, blah blah blah.
I bet they don't get that next year.
Yeah, probably not. But last year they fly across the country week 2 to Pittsburgh. Hyde wets the bed. They're gonna fly across the country to Carolina. even worse matchup for a running back. He will wet the bed this week too.
So how about this, just on that matchup, by the way? The Niners play the last game of the week, the Monday night game, and then have to fly across the country to Carolina, who played the first game of the week on Thursday night and have almost had like an extra 4 days.
Yeah.
So they're going to be hungry. They're coming off
angry.
a loss.
Yeah.
They're angry. They're going to just absolutely destroy the 49ers this week.
Sell Hyde. I'm with you.
All right. Your sell high moment is?
Not a household name yet, but I struggled here. Eli Rogers. People saw that he scored on Monday night.
So
total fluke.
A lot of people probably just picked him up on the waiver wire this week.
That's true.
And now is the time to sell high on him. I think
you could get him for someone that's not the 4th or 5th option on their team, which he is, and he is a slot receiver.
Okay,
he does look good. So that touchdown again, if you didn't watch the game, he wasn't targeted in the red zone. The ball deflected about 8 yards his way.
Yeah.
Just landed in his arms. He's like, oh, sweet, touchdown. So yeah, 6 catches for 59 yards. He was involved. He was running out of the slot, but again, that offense goes through Antonio Brown. It goes through the running game. Jesse James, the tight end, was very much involved. Sammy Coates caught a few balls. So there's just going to be weeks where Eli Rogers is worthless. And you're not going to get a king's ransom in return right now, but he's a guy you could throw in as like an add-on in a deal to get a bigger name.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you got this guy. He's looking good. Steelers offense, everyone's excited about. So not in the most amazing sell-high candidate, but that's what I got for you.
All right. I think we're going to move on to the more interesting stuff now, which is the buy highs. These are guys who might not be household names, had some good production in week 1, and that we're both buying in on the production, and we think it's legit. Let's start with your guy, and it's Theo Riddick that you're buying on.
Yeah, Theo Riddick, who I predicted to be the top-scoring Detroit running back last year. 5 tough questions.
Was he the top-scoring Detroit running back last year?
Of course. And I like him again this year. I think people, coming off a huge game, of course, millionaire maker, winner Theo Riddick was rostered and all that, but people aren't convinced. I mean, are you convinced Theo Riddick is a bona fide starter?
He was out there on the waiver wire in one of my leagues, and I didn't even put in a bid on him. So it just, to me, it seems like that offense is going to be pass heavy. Theo Riddick is the pass catching back, but I'm just a little nervous that things might be split a little bit too much for me to feel comfortable starting him on any given week.
I'm with you. I mean, this is really a PPR
Yeah.
convo, but second most targeted running back last year, 99 targets. He had more catches than Randall Cobb, Emmanuel Sanders, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, and T.Y. Hilton.
He seems like a rich man's Danny Woodhead
He is.
right now, because you don't want Danny Woodhead right now.
No, you don't. And Riddick did get 7 carries on Sunday, one of them for a 20-yard touchdown.
Okay.
Shows he could get it done on the ground. He only got 7 carries twice last year, so I think there'll be an uptick in carries this year with Joik Bell gone. Zach Zenner is Zach Zenner.
Stock's getting lower as we speak.
Dwayne Washington, never even heard of him until last week, so I'm not convinced he's going to steal a ton of touches. And I mean, if Riddick gets 7 to 10 carries, and then you're looking at he's averaging about 5 catches a game, that's 15 touches still, no matter how you slice it. So people will probably be happy to trade Theo Riddick to you, thinking that they're selling low or selling high on him, but you're buying high, so there you go.
My buy high is Spencer Ware of the Kansas City Chiefs. We didn't think that Spencer Ware would be part of the passing game because, after all, last year he had all of 6 catches for 6 yards. Last week he had 7 catches. He beat last year already, but for 129 yards. That's huge. And he also had 6.4 yards per carry. So Jamal Charles is looming. We know that he's going to come back. But I look at Jamal Charles as the handcuff to Spencer Ware right now. And you could play the game where I'm going to get the Chiefs backfield. And if you're the Jamal Charles owner, you should be knocking on the door of the Spencer Ware owner. And similarly, if you're a Spencer Ware owner, you should probably go grab Jamal Charles as the possible outcome. But I think Spencer Ware is a guy that you can go buy right now. People are going to be all hot to sell him right now after his big week. And Jamal Charles may be coming back as soon as this week. They're going to be hot to get rid of him, but I think this is the time to buy. I think he could be the guy who Wally pips Jamal Charles and takes over as the lead back there this season.
Remember in the dark ages of 3 years ago when it took a guy a year to come back from a
Yeah.
Or 2 full years to come back from a major knee injury. You come back and then
Yeah.
you're slow that year. And then Adrian Peterson came back.
He just screwed it up for everybody.
Yeah, now everyone expects Charles just to come back and
Yeah.
just not miss a beat. But no, that's not going to be the case. So.
He hasn't been right in practice, and they're still working him with the scout team. So I'm very nervous.
He hasn't been hit yet.
Yeah,
so.
and it might take him quite a while to get up to speed. If they do activate him, he might be a guy who sees 5 touches in his first game and 10 touches in his next game, and slowly acclimating him to it. And if Spencer Ware's this good, how do you pull him off the field if you got a 29-year-old running back coming back? I don't if I'm the coaching staff.
And Charkandrick West isn't that good. He's not as good as Spencer Ware. They were actually on the field an equal amount on Sunday, but Ware obviously made much more of his opportunities, so he's the guy.
Much bigger out producer. All right, the sell low time. And if you watched the Fantasy Football Almost Daily podcast yesterday, you would have seen that I was very worried about one Dez Bryant, who is Brian's sell low candidate. Charch is not worried about Dez Bryant at all. CP had some concern. I was very worried about Dez. Brian, you're also worried about Dez. Tell me why.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't be. Well, first off, his games without Tony Romo, he's played about 10, averaging less than 3.5 catches and 45 yards.
I did have that stat yesterday, yeah.
Dak Prescott is not Tony Romo. That's a proven fact.
Yes.
And
I believe that's science.
Dak Prescott is a rookie.
Yep.
Who had a couple good preseason games where defenses play the most vanilla defense known to man.
And against the second and third string defenders on most teams.
The more tape teams get on Dak Prescott puts them at more of an advantage than Dak Prescott playing more games, in my opinion, in his rookie year, if that makes sense. And there's only been 2 rookie quarterbacks that have supported wide receiver ones in like the history of fantasy football. It was Andrew Luck Andrew Luck with Reggie Wayne and Cam Newton with Steve Smith. Now, granted, Cam Newton wasn't this amazing. I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick, but he was more of a running threat. He could throw the ball.
And lot of, if I remember correctly, a lot of Steve Smith's numbers that year were like after catch.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy
his yak
stuff.
was probably off the charts that year. So Bryant doesn't have history going for him in that regard. And I don't know. He's a huge name. You could trade him to Charch right now. He's not worried about him at all.
If I had Dez Bryant and I could trade him to Charch,
I would trade you my Dez Bryant for your Alshon Jeffrey all day, or your someone just who was a little bit below him in ADP going into the year. I would be happy to dump Dez Bryant right now. They are going to run the ball, of course. Ezekiel Elliott is going to be the man supposedly, and I don't know. Defenses are going to key on
Defenses are going to key on Dez. That was my thing. Is they're going to double team him all day long. They're going to see if they can make Ezekiel Elliott beat them until he does beat somebody, right? I mean, he looked all right last week, but they're really going to try to force him to do stuff, and then force the rest of the game through Cole Beasley, who is not scary to anybody. My sell low candidate was Sammy Watkins, the aforementioned Bills player. I actually sold him low this week in one of my leagues. I don't want to deal with the foot injury. The foot injury timeline was this. He had a surgically repaired foot. On Sunday, he went in to have x-rays on the surgically repaired foot to see if there was a new break on the foot. They said there was not a new break, but he's in an intense amount of pain. And the initial reports was he might be out 8 weeks. And now the reports are we're planning on playing him this week. And it's just a pain management thing. Now, does that mean he might be a questionable game time decision every week, and I have to scramble and look at my lineup every week and see what's going to happen if Sammy Watkins is going to go? Or when he's active, is he going to be a decoy? Is he going to be like Calvin Johnson was the last few years, and they just trot him out on the field and not have him really run too many routes or not have him cut, that kind of thing, and he's just not a very effective player. I don't want to deal with that on my fantasy roster. I don't want to deal with that on my bench. I'm getting rid of him if I can right now, and I think that there's still enough people out there who will buy Sammy Watkins, and because the reports are favorable right now this week, maybe today is your last day to sell him, because if he comes out and he lays an egg against the Jets, I think the tape will be out, and everybody's going to be like, it's even worse. You're going to be selling lower. So I think that your opportunity to sell maybe today, Thursday, before this Bills-Jets game.
So let's see. Would you trade Sammy Watkins, your Sammy, for Marvin Jones?
Yeah, probably. I think
would.
he's going to be healthy, and I think he's going to be the deep threat for Detroit this year.
Will Fuller.
Jeez. It's close. It's not that far off.
Oh no.
It must mean it's the end of the show. The TV has gone oury. So we're going to thank you guys for watching the show today. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. I am at Explosive Output. Brian is at BTXJ. We do answer most of the questions that are posed to us on Twitter about lineups, trades. I love trade questions. That's up my alley. And then be sure to listen to us tomorrow when we do our DFS podcast. And, rate and review all aspects. Tweet Charch and tell him you love this podcast because he loves hearing it. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.